You are in the Worst Huddle with me, Bram, and with me, per usual, my master of all things video and sound, Maxine,
How's it going?
and my boy and producer, MT.
What's up, Dub Nation?
Gentlemen, huge episode today. Couldn't be more excited to announce that rejoining us after way too long, a high profile college and NBA guru who uses this podcast to keep her family informed of her dating habits. The best draft insider has spent season after season developing more background, relationships, and experience than anyone anywhere within the sports media landscape. An athlete who broke a date's ankles on a basketball court and conquered more hikes and marathons that I can name in this intro. A basketball junkie knows more about your favorite player's path to the pros than your favorite player does. And the person whose opinion you want if March Madness is in full swing and you need to pretend like you know what you're talking about, Miss Krysten Peek. What's going on, KP?
By the way, I totally forgot about this is how long I've been on the pod. the date in off Venice Beach when I broke the guy's ankle. I totally forgot that is something that I mentioned. And also shout out to my cousin, Brian Bangs. He goes, I just saw him over All-Star Weekend. He goes, yeah, I listened to you on Warriors Huddle and I learned more about you and what's going on in the family than if I were just to call you on the phone. So thank you for that intro.
My pleasure. I had to take some stuff out. I took out a twin who broke up with her twin's boyfriend at her twin's
Correct.
request. I thought that was a solid bullet point. Yeah,
Yep.
that'll come up later in the show. That's a promise. Any dating updates you'd like to provide your family before we move into basketball? Or
Yes, absolutely. And I know
Excellent.
I told you about this. So we talked about chocolate maker guy.
Yeah, the chocolatier.
Chocolatier. So that was going great.
Do you notice how
And-
Maxime just laughed at the word chocolatier just because it's a kind of random profession and not something that people normally date? So yeah, you've already got all of our attention. And I
Okay. And do you also remember I have not had sugar or sweets or dessert in 10 years. So I didn't know how I was going to maneuver this relationship. And I knew it was doomed when he is talking to me for 20 minutes about how to make the best ice cream and fold it and the air pockets. And I'm like, bro, I don't care. How do I tell you I've never had ice cream in the last 10 years? Anyways, that's not the worst part. He comes over to watch a movie and we're sitting on my couch and I just go to snuggle into him. Gary, my dog, shout out Gary, is 20 feet away in his dog bed. And so I settle in, I'm cuddling with him. I kind of turn into him. All of a sudden he flinches and Gary is right by my head, just staring at him. And Gary's 20 pounds. He's not a threatening dog. He's a little teddy bear. He's just staring at him. And he's like, oh, what's up with your dog? Then he shoves my dog off the couch, shoves him. And I'm like, oh, no. Literally, I haven't talked to him since.
He's threatened. I mean, what happened there? He was afraid of the dog. He's just an asshole. What leads to dog violence? Because I'm not totally understanding that.
He literally he flinched, and then Gary was right there, and Gary was more just oh, what are you guys doing? I want to be involved. It wasn't he wasn't growling at him or anything. And then he shoves my dog. He chose violence. He shoves my dog off the couch.
I see you not only kicking his ass out, but then as he's leaving, opening up the door and be like, just so you know, I haven't had ice cream for 10 years. Fuck sweets. I'm all the way out.
That's what I should have said. Yeah.
Chocolate is stupid, by the way.
Do you gentlemen think, we know Krysten, she can be aggressive. She's a savage. We love her here. But also, it sounds like a new dating experience, And so she knows what this guy does for a living and she knows she doesn't eat sugar. But early on, if it's me, I'm not bringing that up. It's like
I did not bring it up.
Okay,
No.
that's exactly what I was going to ask. And apparently there's too much. All right, so I was going to ask you, gentlemen, what do you think Krysten did? We know now that segment's completely fucking ruined.
I don't think she brought it up.
Yeah, you know her so well, Marcus. I am so impressed. Well, Willy Wonka, if you're listening out there, stop pushing dogs, dude. It's totally.
It wasn't
totally
even a push. He shoved him. He shoved my baby off the. Anyways, so for all the future dating prospects, if you think I'm going to choose my dog or you, it's 1,000% always going to be Gary. Anyways.
Hell yeah. that person is objectively bad human being. Like, not just like that's an unacceptable date move. That's just an unacceptable like move within humanity. You can't be touching any dog, let alone somebody else's dog. Like, the fuck out of here.
Correct. Okay, let's talk basketball. Yes.
Let's talk basketball. All right, so I got a bunch of March Madness stuff for you, a bunch, and I need you.
Yes.
We are getting down to brass tacks. It's going to be draft season. I need names. I need storylines. I need all of that. But also, it's a Warriors podcast, so we can't start only with March Madness. Instead, we'll start with our glass half full. You'll recognize this. We look back on recent Warriors hoop. Give us something you like, something you don't. Maxime, outside of referencing your love for the word chocolatier, we haven't heard shit from you, man. What do you got?
I'm going to try to pronounce it the way it ought to be pronounced, and nobody's going to enjoy that. So we'll whisk ourselves away.
Oh my
from
God.
That
even
thing.
That you said it the way it
Isn't that even worse?
Pronounced.
You're welcome.
Oh my God.
I was trying to figure out how to add IER to other words that I thought would be funny, but then I realized it wouldn't be funny because none of those are French words. And so instead, we're going to move on to some of my sadness about Jimmy Butler completely falling flat in the Miami Heat game, and sort of realizing at this point that we as a team are sort of a two-body system, a two-planetary body system. And when either of those bodies, as in Steph or Jimmy, are not in the solar system, we're fucked. It feels like the spacing is completely amuck either way. It seems like actually what Steve Kerr has done is plug Jimmy into our rotations, and Jimmy just figures it out because he's a brilliant basketball player. But then without Steph there, we're kind of not really running anything for Jimmy at all. And it's actually a really depressing watch, doubly so when you could tell how much Miami was in their feelings about this game, and rightfully so. And Bam just completely owned him in that matchup. And it didn't really make me feel really good. And then, of course, all of the bandwagon fans that have been waiting to talk shit on this team for months because they're just angry folks are coming out talking about how, like, this team doesn't actually have it. Like, they're probably going to go into the play-in and they might not even make the playoffs. And I'm just like, I'm out on all of this energy. And it sucks that we've had these back-to-back losses that are bringing out the worst of this fan base.
Unsuccessful homecomings are very hard to watch. And the move of playing it cool only works if you win. Like Butler went out of his way to say, I don't really care, and like this is just another game. We're just here to win. And then you could tell real early, at least I'm not reporting, I'm guessing, but educated guess, it looked like he cared. He definitely wanted. And you could tell how much it meant to Miami. And to have him go there, not play well, try to play it cool, and then come up short. Yeah, it sucked. I'm not a big fan, and I'll double down on the thing you already said, how lost they occasionally look without Steph Curry. It's the upside is we are talking about a luminary, a living legend. There's reasons why they'll look lost without the main centerpiece, but I didn't expect them to look this lost, and losing to teams they should probably beat anyways sucks. I like Atlanta, Karis LeVert. Dude, are you serious? That's who we have to watch torch us? So frustrating, definitely frustrating.
Did you hear Draymond when they showed what he said to Karis LeVert when he was beefing with Kuminga a little bit?
Traded 7 times. You've been traded 7 times, I believe he told him.
It's such a cold moment.
Savage.
You've been traded 7 times. Like, all right. Trey had to get involved.
KP, on the off chance you haven't been following the random back and forth interactions between Atlanta Hawks and Golden State Warriors, your boy JK went to the line being guarded by Karis LeVert. We don't hear what they said at first. You don't. That part's not captured by the mics, but you hear what happens afterwards. And Karis starts talking shit to JK. JK says something back, but it isn't in particularly clever. You could tell it's what LeVert has kind of said has bothered him. And Draymond, who has been auditing this entire thing and has kind of been Kuminga's cheerleader, steps in and talks to LeVert, basically tells him to shut up because he's been traded 7 times and we don't need to hear anything from him. Which also, is that right? Has he been traded 7 times, or did he just pick a high as fuck number and all of us assume it's right because it's Karis LeVert?
That's a good question. I assumed it was 7 because Trae Young immediately jumped in and was like, chill, Dre, chill, Dre.
Could have been 15 if you ask me. I'll give you something I like, although it kind of dovetails into what Maxime was just saying. I like that the Warriors have been good enough to get back on casual Bay Area sports fans' front burner. For me, the personification of that is a guy named Gene. I work with Gene. Gene is, I think a sports fan, probably not. But if something becomes trendy, Gene will bring it up. The Giants are going to win a championship. Gene's about it. The Warriors are hot. Gene will bring it up to me almost immediately. And these last couple of weeks have been filled with Gene little comments. So upside, downside is what you just said, Maxime. That everybody, now that we've got everybody paying attention again, they tend to panic when things aren't going well, and so the comment I caught from Gene today is, so playing team. And then I told him to fuck himself, and we haven't spoken for the rest of the day.
Yeah, my half empty is kind of drifts into KP's world. Is we're right in that middle stage where we're not good enough to really threaten OKC and be legitimate title contenders, but we're a little too good for our draft pick, and we've sent it to the Heat if it falls between 11 and 30. So I don't think we get a top 10 draft pick based on our record and how well we're going to play for the rest of the season. And that pick goes to Miami, and which means we only get second rounders, and our second rounders are all convoluted and protected in a weird bunch of ways. So who knows what pick we get, and I'm just hoping KP says that there's a sleeper in there that wherever we land is who we'll get, and it'll be an amazing player.
When you brought up KP, I thought you were going to ask her about chocolatiers, and then I almost backed off on having that follow-up because I knew I didn't have to say a word at all, and we didn't let Maxime teach us. So now I'm stuck in this Netherland. What's the answer, KP? What level player are we going to give up? If we give up, I think if the draft happened today, the Warriors would be in like the 16th, 17th slot, somewhere around there. Legitimate play. I mean, like, what are we talking about? Rotational player? Like, does the draft go that deep?
It does. And I feel like, especially in this year's draft, not last year's draft, horrible. So when we're looking at depth, this year's draft, next year's draft, there's a ton of players, there's a ton of depth. And the more that like NIL becomes a thing in college sports, the better the players are going to get draft year after draft year outside of the one and done prospects. So if we're looking at that 16 to 25 range, someone that I love is a 5-year senior outside of Colorado State. I think he's got potential. Like, I watched him in the game, like they lost to Maryland because of the travel gather step, whatever you want to call it, that Dairy Queen have. And it was a 3-step play, took Colorado State from the Sweet 16, from a Cinderella team. Now we have a chalk Sweet 16 with very high major programs. But Nick Clifford is a player who he just played in the NCAA tournament. I promise you that tomorrow night, he could step onto any NBA team in the secondary unit and be productive. So I'm very, very high on Nick Clifford. So when we're looking at that 16 to 30 or whatever, like, he is someone that is like a experienced player, somebody, that doesn't have any off-court issues and is going to rise up draft boards, being like that mid-second round prospect the entire season.
I'm going to add something to your intro. It's a woman who cannot read a room. This is a Warriors podcast, dude. We just told you how worried we are that we traded away something and like maybe it's deep enough in the draft where it's not a difference maker. And you looked us right in the face like, oh yeah, it definitely is. Nick Clifford, he's hella good. You guys totally screwed up. So great. Thank you.
Wait, like 16 to 35. I don't know. Like, I don't know where he's going to fall, but that is literally my guy. That's my name for this draft, Nick Clifford, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm enough of a hater to tell you I'm now rooting against Nick Clifford, because if he could have made a giant difference for us, I'm not a big fan. Something else I liked, and then to your takes on the Warriors, KP, Guy Santos' effort level. There are people who give 125% on every play. Generally speaking, those people don't get more than 8 to 10 minutes. They've got to weaponize their 8 to 10 minutes. And so one of the ways you do that is with effort, and it makes sense, of course. When those guys get a chance to get more minutes, when it kicks up into 10, 12, 14, 15, one of the things that kind of disappears is their effort. The reason they've gotten those extra minutes is they found another way to contribute. We're watching that with Guy Santos. His shot's falling. He knows the offense pretty well. He's actually a pretty good defensive rotational player. But what has not gone anywhere is his effort. He is still giving you everything on every play. Now, I've said this before. If one of my likes is praising Guy Santos, then things aren't going exactly as I'd like them to go. The way we may not be dominating the world, but he deserves a shout out. That kid comes to play every single moment, like not just every game, every moment of every game.
Yeah.
Stunned silence. I must be right. KP, what do you got here? Something you like or don't?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you, I saw this video. This is probably one of the best videos I've seen on TikTok or Instagram Reels or whatever, wherever you get your social media content. And it was this kid, this high school kid, and he's just like, "Oh my God, Steph Curry is my substitute teacher." And he's like filmed on his like history class, and all of them are looking at him like, "What are you doing?" And he's just like, "The Warriors are in the gym. Steph Curry's here." And then he runs down the hallway and he like pulls back the tape where they shield where nobody can see him play. I've been in gyms like that where they have to block him out.
Oh, yeah.
And he just pulls back the tape and is like, "Come on, Looney, UCLA, Steph." And I was like, oh my God, this would be incredible. Like if I was in any high school in Miami and I found out that the Warriors were just shooting into my high school gym, I would be on the same energy, not the people that are sitting there like, "Bitch, please, what are you doing?" There you go. I said it.
I don't have to just to let you. So to let everyone in on KP's brilliance, we gave her. There's a bingo card for today's episode, and she just hit one of them, dropping "bitch please." So there it is. I saw that video, loved it.
It was so good.
Loved so many portions of it. I love the initial portion because he went into that classroom twice. This fool opened the video opens with you just hear him screaming that Steph Curry is a substitute teacher. And then he opens up a door, screams it in, and a bunch of people look at him like, "What the hell are you doing here?" He closes the door, then opens it immediately back up. And those same people are like, "What's happening?" He goes, "He's right in the other gym." And then the camera follows him running over. And what he's filming through is the hole between the two doors, even though the two doors are closed. Like not all doors.
Well, they put tape over the door.
And so he's taking that out. And so like, it's like Zapruder film. Like the angles he's getting are bananas, and it takes a minute for the camera to focus in for you to tell who it is. And the second you can tell it is, he fires off a non sequitur about that person. Just like KP said, it's like, "Who is that? Is that come on, Looney, UCLA?" And then it's like, "I think that's Steve Kerr." It's like, Steve Kerr, a Wildcat. It's like all these like random ass takes about everybody, and it is gold.
It's so good. It was amazing. Yeah. So you're welcome, Warriors Nation. I'm giving my 2 cents on the team this week.
We appreciate you, and we appreciate the bitch please to our golden questions. Krysten, it's our mailbag. I'm hijacking it. Nobody wrote in. I'm writing all of these questions, and that's on purpose because we need your take on March Madness. So we are literally officially into the Sweet 16. It's right about now. I'll find myself in conversations about who the prospects are and who the teams are going to be. For very poor reasons, people think I might know something because I had helped host this show. I do not. I never know anything, but I also want them to keep thinking that. And so what happens every year is I lean on you, KP, and here we are. All right. So the first one, give me some elevator pitches. By that, I mean, some storylines here. For the casual fan out there who may not know what's happening within the March Madness tournament, what are some things that are still alive, some stories that have your attention?
Okay, well, this is a very chalk year. And by chalk, I mean all of the top teams have made it to the Sweet 16. But there are some fun storylines. So, last year when we had the crazy coaching changes, the coaching carousel where John Calipari left and he went to Arkansas. Arkansas is still in. And who took his spot? It was Pope from BYU. Sure. Kentucky's still in. And then BYU hired Kevin Young, who played or who was a coach at for the Phoenix Suns. BYU is in. So win. Those 3 teams are still winning. And then even before the tournament hit, we had Cooper Flagg, who went down with an ankle injury. He was carried off the court in a wheelchair to go get x-rays. And then he didn't finish the rest of the ACC tournament. Duke won the ACC tournament. He's back. And by the way, have you seen the bingo commercial, the AT&T bingo commercial with Cooper and his grandma? It is my favorite thing about the NCAA tournament. They're like, oh, Cooper Flag has no chill. And you see him like winning bingo and he's like, let's go. And he's like flexing. And then his actual grandma, who I know, Evelyn, is like, go shake hands, Cooper. And he's like, yes, Mimi. And he like walks down a aisle of old people and shakes all their hand. Anyways, that has
He's
nothing
good
to do
in
with
it.
it.
Is he natural? I mean, does he seem like a little off pace?
Yes.
Or does he,
no,
it
is. It is. I was like, I like texted Kelly Flagg, his mom, immediately. And I was just like, this is my favorite part about March. Anyways, so AT&T commercial with Cooper and his grandma. Amazing. Duke has also been phenomenal. Cooper is back. He looks great, but it's not Cooper. It's Tyrese Proctor, who is the Australian guard. This guy, he is shooting lights out. He is shooting 80% from 3-point range on 8 attempts per game.
Whoa.
He is the first player in Duke history since in tournament history to make 6 or more 3-pointers. He is the first player since 2010 to hit 5 threes in consecutive games. And the player before him that had that feat was John Shire, who is now the head coach. So like Duke looks incredible. Duke looks incredible. Auburn is rolling on through with player of the year, Janai Broom. And so it's funny to see it. Well, it's not funny, but it's, if you're a betting person, but it's funny to see all of the top teams actually play well in the tournament.
Sure. Yeah. Right. What do you prefer? Do you prefer a chalk lineup? Do you prefer when all the best teams are there and now we're just going to see all the or do you prefer?
No, I want Cinderellas. Like I think that gives players that have been fighting the entire year, teams that aren't getting all of the ESPN games, all of the notoriety. It kind of elevates them a little more, and this is their moment. So
I was thinking, I listened to, I think there's a disagreement on another podcast I was listening to, but what they were pointed out is that there is a distinction between what we like on our movie screens and what we like on our real life TV screens. They said in movies, what we like are underdogs. We never watch a sports movie about the favorite ever. It's not about Rocky, or I'm sorry, it's not about Drago. It's about Rocky. But in sports tournaments, we tend to get pissy when the underdog gets a little bit too far because it's not the kind of talent that we want to watch. Like when the 16 seed makes it to the Final Four or something.
Fair. Yep.
Now we're kind of disappointed at that one matchup because it's not 1-versus-1. My response to that is they were having the argument. I think that if they could guarantee that the underdogs were going to play well, we would all love the underdog story. I mean, like the idea of watching them go all the way like NC State or something. Like there's been times when we do romanticize the run, but if we don't know for sure, and they might get their ass kicked, we don't necessarily like it. How about you boys? Do you prefer if an underdog makes it far, or would you prefer a Final Four, let's say, with all number ones?
Definitely the underdog. I mean, that's what March Madness is all about, is that team you've never heard of with players who have been overlooked and they just go on a long run and become household names for a year or two. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what makes the Cinderella story is far more entertaining than number one seeds.
If they start to get their ass kicked in that first half, do you second guess it at all? Or is it just fun to have them there? If it's like 50-18 at the half, but we did get to have that Cinderella run, you still happy they made it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the storylines up to it made for the tournament to be a lot more enjoyable for me, at least up until that point.
Who's the best player so far, KP?
Best player in the tournament. I mean, I just wrote a story about this, about players that have helped their draft stock. I think Derek Queen making that shot, going left and finishing off the glass. He really helped himself. Jeremiah Fears, who Oklahoma is out of the tournament, but he was getting Trae Young comps early on this season, and he looked phenomenal against UConn, even though Oklahoma lost. And Tyrese Proctor, I mean, I know I mentioned him before, but he is just coming alive for this Duke team. And you saw John Shire get very emotional when talking about Tyrese, because this is a player he reclassed up. He's from Australia, so he came over a year early. And there were opportunities after his freshman and sophomore year, either to enter the transfer portal, but he decided to stick with it and stick through and just kind of wait it out. Even we're talking about a Duke program that recruits over players every single year. And so for Tyrese to find his footing and find, kind of his niche with this team and the number one recruiting class, the number one player in the country with Cooper Flagg, and be able to compliment him in the way that he has late in the season has been really, really good to see. And people are saying, oh my gosh, is he going to be a first round draft pick? Well, no, because he's still like $180. And every time I see him, I want to feed him like 10 cheeseburgers. So I don't know. He doesn't have like the size, the positional size yet, but anyone that can shoot lights out the way Tyrese is doing is going to be someone that NBA teams are going to think twice about. And by the way, we haven't even talked about this. Michigan State, Jace Richardson is making another run 20 plus years later after his dad, Jason Richardson, did this same thing and went all the way to the national championship. And Jace Richardson is having himself a year and having himself a tournament. So there are storylines for days for this tournament.
And that one has some Warriors heart to it. Jay Rich.
Yes, there you go. There you go.
The only Warriors
you call him Jay Rich. I call him Jason Senior because the family gets a holiday card of me and Gary every year, and that's the way his wife refers Jay Rich. Jason Senior. Jason Senior. Yes.
Can you give me a couple seconds? Because I'd like to go confirm that I've never received shit from you on any holiday. It won't take me very long.
I know. No, like you're right. Like, I do need to get. I need to get.
No, I've been able to do it. You gave me enough time. You have not. I've confirmed. I've received nothing at all from you. KP, if an NBA guy gave you a call and said, "Look, I'm getting ready to watch the tournament. All right.
Yep.
How much stock should I put in it? Just the tournament time, like how much should I allow what he does in March impact my overall view of this player? What would you answer?
It's so funny. I've actually written about this. I've talked to numerous NBA scouts about this, and it's basically, it's a big sample field. Like now that NBA scouts and executives are able to see these players in high school, you want to see growth, and not only growth, but you want to see how they perform under pressure. So yes, this is a great test for these players because you're playing in the NCAA tournament, the biggest stage in college basketball, but it's not going to be the be all end all in terms of any sort of decision on draft night, whether or not they play well or they don't. And we've seen players, like last year, Zach Edey, all the way to the championship game. He was the number 9 pick in the draft. And so it's almost validating what some of your scouting and just notes from the year. But it's not just this. It's not just this. Then it's the pre-draft process. And we go to the combine and you have the scrimmages. And then you had to bring them in for workouts and for meetings. And so it's almost just taking everything in. But there is not going to be a single player in this tournament that makes or breaks their draft stock. There's going to be people that help them, but it's not going to be like, oh my gosh, you are a bona fide lottery pick because of this game that you played against Texas Tech. I don't know.
Is it a helpful data point though against international players? Like, it ebbs and flows, but it feels like last year's draft was heavy on international players in the first, in the top of the draft, and it hasn't been regarded as a strong draft. So this year it seems like a referendum a little bit on it. Like there's not a top international prospect until like the teens, it seems like.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Well, last year's draft was horrible. I cannot even believe I had to do 10 mock drafts on last year's draft. And so that's why we saw a lot of international interest. But with this year's draft specifically, there's a way more focus on the college players between Cooper Flagg and two of the top 5 picks we're not even going to see in the NCAA tournament. That's Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, who played for Rutgers. And so you're seeing more of the trend of the one and done in the college prospects, other than teams like, oh, who are we going to take? I don't know. Let's go overseas. Zachary Richechet. Yeah, great. You sound like a winner. I don't know.
I remember,
that's why you're saying.
and I think I got this from the Christmas card you sent me a couple of years ago. What I've heard is that this draft, there's just nobody between 16 and 30. It's just awful from 16 on. And so, I mean, like, that's good to hear because that's probably where the Warriors pick is. So, that makes me feel a little bit more confident in the trade that we made.
This is a great draft. Next year's draft is very, very good as well. Sorry.
Maxime, you've been watching. How much does March Madness grab your attention? Is it a number one sporting event for you as well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, number one sporting event is always going to be the Warriors. If I have to pick and choose between the two, I'm watching just because, that's what I know. That's what I love. But no, I'm in a pretty large pool with some family and friends. Currently in first place, thanks to my very chalk bracket. But it's exactly that, right? As soon as you have some stakes on the line, I have a few hundred beans coming my way if I continue to win out here. I care more and more as it gets closer, and the stakes get more and more real. Who do
you have winning? Who do you have winning?
I'm a little scared to tell you because I'm instantly going to see your reaction, and if it's not what I want to see, I'm leaving the Zoom call. But I have Florida beating Houston in the championship game. So, like I said, very chalk.
Okay.
Oh boy, see, this is what I'm talking about. Oh, this is a nightmare.
If you're not watching
one
the
way
YouTube,
you could go.
Yeah, if you're not watching the YouTube, you need to immediately sign on just to watch. If you're looking for the perfect way to express, terrible pick,
oh my God,
face and no words, KP just found that exactly.
Well, it's fine because Cooper Flagg's grandma actually just texted me and told me that those were great picks, so I'm not worried about it.
No, that's tight. Nick Clifford texted me to say he's out of the draft and doesn't want to go anywhere. So
it's not Nick, it's Neek. He's named after Dominique Wilkins.
You don't know how close we are. I call him Nick, dude. You don't have the level.
That's what he prefers on his Christmas cards.
That's exactly right. It's weird. It's 2Ks he does with mine, which is weird. It should be a Q, but I don't know what to tell you. I've thrown myself off. Oh, that's what I was going to say. There's many things I love about March Madness. That's been true for 90% of my life. One of the things that goes unnoticed that really entertains me is that it's America's introduction to gambling. That's why it's so fucking popular. I mean, that's what brackets are. Like everyone who loves their brackets and cares way more about a game because you picked a winner. That's why gambling is so successful.
Okay, wait, did you see? So Liam McNeely, he's a freshman guard at UConn.
I call him Nick.
Liam. His mom's name's Lindsay, by the way, if you wanted to know. I text with her too. Yeah. But Liam McNeely, who, by the way, was also high school teammates with Cooper Flagg in high school. And he became the gambling bettors darling because even though UConn was not going to win the game, he had 9 points in the last minute and he chucked up a 3 in the last 3 seconds that put them over the over for total points. And everyone erupted. Like everyone's like, yes. And like everybody, like nobody could understand it. But then I went on Twitter and they're like, Liam McNeely, the people's champion. Like he had 9 points in the last minute. So yes, betting does prevail.
You just reminded me of a story that I had in my notes for like months now. I just forgot that I got lost. So I don't even remember when this was. Months ago. It was last season. I was watching a game on my own in a bar. I was there for the full, I think 3/4 of it. And at the halftime, I kind of didn't get to know, but started talking with the guy who was next to me because he's also a basketball fan, And so not full blown conversation, but also not just one off, by the end of the third, we're like, hey, nice shot from JK, high five here. They're like, we're interacting. And then fourth quarter goes through. We haven't talked for at least 10, 15 minutes. The game is over. The Warriors won. And I remember somebody hits a shot at the end. I wasn't aware of the spread, but what I was aware of is when that person hit the shot, this guy who hadn't talked for a good 15, 20 minutes stands up, takes his beer glass and throws it on the ground and goes, motherfucker. And then fucking gets up and bounces. I don't think he paid I'm pretty sure he didn't pay his bill. And because I had been interacting with him throughout, everyone who was left in the bar kept looking at me like, what's up with your guy, dude? Like, why? And I don't how do you answer questions that aren't actually being, asked to you? And there's nobody else there. I couldn't have a fake conversation. And I've always assumed that whatever shot it was that prompted the motherfucker, he'd lost a bet or whatever it was. So yeah, there's my long lost story I've been meaning to tell for months. I appreciate you guys. You unlocked it.
I love that. And shout out to Liam McNeely, who was great at UConn. By the way, wait.
I thought you were saying that was the guy who was sitting next to me. It turns out it was Liam McNeely. I was like, oh my God, he did seem like he had a pretty nice form.
Have you been following the drama with UConn and this viral video that got posted with Dan Hurley coming out of the tunnel, which, by the way, as a media member, you're allowed to be in the tunnel. And he yells very loudly, yeah, good luck, Baylor. I hope they don't fuck you guys over like they did us, and talking about the refs. And so this video goes viral. The poor reporter from like Charlotte, some like news station in Charlotte, I guess the SID came up to him and was like, delete this or I'll ruin you. I'll kill your career or whatever. And so he threatens this poor guy. Then it turns out that like the NCAA opens this investigation on like threatening someone in like a public space. Anyways, not a good look for UConn. They're out of the tournament. Florida took care of that, but no three-peat for UConn. But yeah, just a very bizarre ending to their season. And like people already loved it, hate on UConn, and now they're just like totally hating on them because of this situation.
I don't think the phrase "I'll end you" has been used like on this side of like 1985. You know, like it feels like it's been lost to time.
Yeah, it was a very threatening phrase. And I'm looking at this video and I'm like, wait, no, I've recorded videos in the exact same tunnel. Are we not allowed to be there? It's not like he went into the locker room and was like recording there. It was in the tunnel walking off the court. So
there's some video out there where somebody came and threatened you, you know, I'll end you, and it catches you going, bitch, please. And then there have been times. Okay, so I'll tell you a quick story. At the Iverson Classic, I will never, ever, ever, ever return to the Iverson Classic a day ever. Great start to the story. Let's go.
This ended with Allen Iverson calling me and apologizing. And the event coordinator, he pulled me into the parking lot, and I wish I would have been recording it. And it was right after COVID, and I'm sitting with Sam Presti, who, you know, general manager for OKC. I'm sitting with Matt Lloyd, who is now the general manager for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And they're just like, KP, do you have a roster? And I was like, you guys don't know who these people are? And so I open up a Google Doc, I write everyone's name down, where they're going to school. And they're like, can I take a picture of that? Like, yeah, great. They take a picture, it spreads like wildfire. And then like the very next day, I didn't know that the Iverson Classic was trying to charge NBA teams $500 for a roster. So nobody paid the $500 because I made my own roster with my own eyeballs. And
they apologized to you? Shouldn't that apology have gone the other direction?
He said to me, I don't hit women, but I want to hit you for stealing money out of my pocket.
Okay, never mind. I take back that apology I just had.
So I do not support the Iverson Classic. It's the worst run high school event in all of high school basketball. And
you should go there just to hand out free rosters each year.
I really
just be out front. Like here's a Google Doc. You may want to hand this out inside. Totally up to you. Close out our March Madness. Why was Maxime wrong? If you were filling out a bracket,
come on, man. Let's have a nice time.
Who would you be putting in the championship bubble?
I think Auburn is the number one overall team for a reason. Their entire roster has a higher, older median age than the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is crazy to me. Auburn looks amazing. I think Duke looks very, very good. And yeah, Florida's a fine pick.
She didn't
so much confidence in that.
She didn't even pick a winner. She just picked Maxime being wrong. That's all. That's really all we heard right there, which is fine by me. I hope you know that that's the exact kind of radio I am looking for. So that's nicely played here. MT, do you have a bracket? Do you have a champion?
I do have a bracket, but I picked Florida as well. So
let's go.
What are these California guys? Why are you picking Florida? I don't understand. That's
I got caught up. Jay Billis talked me into it.
Okay, all right.
Well, in case you were thinking that there must be like some kind of a huddle group where they pick teams together. No, nobody consulted me at all. I do not have Florida. I didn't get a call. They weren't like, oh, here's what we're picking. I'm just on the outside looking in. It'd be Cooper flag for me. I'd put money on Duke, but I'm wrong every year. So that's more of like a Grim Reaper.
So
pick.
am I. So am I.
Excellent. So Florida
So
is.
Florida it is. Florida is going to be the champion. Yes.
Yeah. The fuck Bram Huddle pick. There it is. Okay.
As soon as they win, I'll send you some chocolate.
Marcus, you said that word wrong. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not going to tell you how to say it, but you may want to look up how the French say it to make sure that you nail it.
Chocolate.
Nice.
Okay, dude. Bingo. You don't have to hit any of the other ones. You've now that's it. That word took us up and over the top. Don't you worry about the other squares we wanted to hit. All right. An embarrassing story. I apparently can't get through a week without having something inappropriate happen or embarrassing or something like that. And this week was no different. So we're dusting off a old segment. Christian, this one's called Basketball Court. When we have somebody whose opinion matters, we will occasionally put them in a judge's seat in a basketball court, give them a scenario, and then ask them to rule, is this socially acceptable? All right. So I am the defendant. You are now presiding. Some quick background. I went to Dave & Buster's this week with my younger sisters. They're both adults. I mean, grown. The youngest of my younger sisters is a freshman at St. Mary's College. The older of the two, I think is 28 now, is on the other side of graduate school, but a lot younger than me. And we decided to have a fun day at Dave & Buster's. So we go out, grab a couple drinks, and then hit the pop-and shop. And both of my sisters are athletically inclined. They have hand-eye coordination. They're athletic, but they don't have a connection to basketball that I do. And I'm pompous about my jump shot specific. So walking into the pop-a shot, there's more at stake than there should be. There should be fucking nothing, dude. It should just be three people having fun. And instead, it's two people having fun and one psychopath between them. So we play the first one, and I'm trying much harder than I need to. And I look to my left where my younger sister is, and I beat her pretty handily. And I look to my right, and my middle sister, August, has beat the shit out. I mean, just beat the brakes off me. Like, if Annie on my left has 19 and I had 115, August had 1,000. I've never seen a number that high, at any point. And so we kind of joke about it. And then I not so passively aggressively oh, let's do that again, And so we go through it again. Exact same thing happens. I get him in the middle. Uh-oh. Now August's score is higher. She's the record for the entire Dave & Buster's has been shattered by what August has done. And so this should be the end, okay, she's won, fine. We start walking around. They're where else do you want to go? And I'm catatonic because I got my ass kicked and I'm terrible at competition. And I'm dragging my feet like a 6-year-old. We go to a couple other things. I demand we go back. It happens a third time. And she's unbelievably good. All right. So here's the thing I need your judgment on. For the fourth time, I forced it. I decide that the machine must be broken. There's no fucking way. The machine must be broken. God. And I forced them to change machines, just to see what will happen. I'll tell you the score in a moment. But before I do, appropriate or inappropriate? Because I think I'd like to be the kind of person who could just take the loss and let his younger sister, dude, walk away and enjoy the thing. But I was not. It was absolutely, positively was positive that there was some digital error at foot, that Dave & Buster's has a bullshit basketball sensor, and that we needed to get to the fucking bottom of it. All right. So acceptable to ask for them to switch machines, or am I doing too much and I'm a terrible loser?
Okay, I understand the machine switch. So you wanted to shoot it on her basket, and you wanted to put her at a different basket?
I just moved her. I switched my two sisters. I was in the middle. I put the machine that kept setting records was to my right. So yeah. I switched the person using the one on the right to the left. Really, if I'm saying it out loud, really what I was saying is, I don't believe that you can do that. What else, what other possible explanation would it be for? That's 100% what I was doing. Is that an okay thing? Is that acceptable by anybody's standards?
I hate to say this, but I would have done the same thing. I really would have.
Knew it, dude.
I would think, no. When I think of my twin sister, Lisa, and the last time she ever shot a basketball was when she was in 7th grade. And then I put a basketball in her hand, 15 years later and she's still shooting two-handed follow through or whatever. If she beat me out of pop and shot, I would totally think it was the machine, not her.
Keep going, okay? Because I think you and I are similar, and I would have bet my life that that's what you would have done. But I can tell you, what would I do? I just told you what I do. I'd have them switch machines. But I can also tell you, socially not acceptable. No. I did too much. There's no question. For you, okay, you would have done it too.
Yes.
If you had socially unacceptable, how do you think is that okay
yeah,
to do?
Like, no. Like my sister would have just like rolled her eyes and be like, well, are you paying for this? Like, that sort of thing. Yeah. It totally like I am too an ultra competitor and I would have done the exact same thing. But is it socially crazy? Absolutely.
100%. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I think that I was going to say, I think that we'll all agree on that, and let's guess what these two would do. But based on Marcus's facial expression, it looks like he might have some blood for us here, dude. Is it acceptable? It's okay to have him switch machines?
I think it's okay to switch, but you missed your window to do it in the socially acceptable
Yeah,
time frame.
the four different times. Yeah, Marcus,
I think if you would have done it on the third time and before walking around and then coming back to it, then it was okay. I think when you walked around, did other stuff, and then we're like, no, you know what? We need to go back because you were definitely cheating. That's where it becomes socially unacceptable. It's all competitive and makes sense to be like, oh, it's probably the machine if you did it on the third time and you just switched it out and you went to her machine. You not going to her machine and sending your sister, the youngest sister, to me also was a miss. It's like you compounded, like bad decisions for socially acceptable behavior.
Fake trying to accept. It's like, oh, I don't really care who wins. I just want to see. Like, it was total. Of course, it was bald face what I was doing. I like what you're saying, and if I could go back and I had to do the machine switch, I'd do it after the first game. Let's shovel it. Because the second it's obvious that I'm doing it because I don't like its outcome, now it feels a little shady. You should have seen how fucking inappropriately pissy I was when we were walking around. Dude, I don't get to spend time with my younger sister. Like, that's not a thing. We all have lives, and that we certainly are never into Dave and Buster's. And so when they're like, okay, we finished this, let's go play whatever, skee ball. I'm like, yeah, sure, dude, skee ball is great. Meanwhile, I'm just ruining it. Aggressively.
You want to cheat at that one too?
Goddamn. Okay, Marcus finds it unacceptable the way I did it. KP, would he have done it? Would he have followed our example and had his brother change machines?
Well, yeah, but after the first time.
Yeah,
he would have been like, oh, let's switch hoops.
Maxime may tell us it's socially acceptable now because he's such a nice guy and he's heard us kind of like he's going to try to make us feel better, but he's also such a nice guy. 0.0% chance he would have done that. I can see Maxime being like, August, you've gotten so good at basketball. Like, I'm so proud of you. That's great, dude. Like, what would you like to play next? Like that kind of thing. Like, they would have had the evening I should have had instead of being a pissy little bastard. Maxime, am I right?
Yeah, for sure. But also, I've been sitting here the whole time confused. Are we talking like, what the fuck is different? What could be different between these machines? Are these like manufacturing errors and one hoop is bigger than the other? Like, how is there a difference?
Perfect transition. The machine was broken.
What?
Crazy broken. When they switched over and Annie went over, her score was quintuple of everybody else's. But it's also an illustration of how broken I am. Because, what Dave and Buster's is, for those who have not gone, it's a bar that you can play video games in. But the hook is that those games like that, Pop-A-Shot, you earn points. And then you can take those points and you go buy shit with them if you want. Generally speaking, the points are so low, you can't really buy anything. But what this was a broken opportunity. Their machine was broken, and so if the second we noticed it was broken, what we should have all done is just played that machine and bought a PlayStation 5 for $5, but I'm so broken. I was like, no, I'm showing you that this competition was not right. We gotta split it up and stuff, afterwards, I felt to like the dawning comprehension of like, oh my God, I did not need to do this when we realized the machine was broken and that I was the asshole. It wasn't great, dude. Like no one was super proud of me or happy to be there.
Use your peripheral at all just to eyeball if the ball was going in the basket that
Marcus, my basketball mortality was at stake, dude.
Exactly.
No one's ever concentrated harder on my basket than I was concentrating.
Tunnel vision.
And I was like, as fast as I could, I was going with the one-handed, like I was like, and it was falling. It got to that last 30 seconds. They're all worth 3. I'm hitting every one. And then I look over and I'm destroyed. Like it's not. If you'd multiplied my shit by like 100, I wouldn't have been close. It wasn't remotely close.
Yeah, you should have been eyeing her basket. It would have gave you a little more relief before you wouldn't have had to walk around the whole Dave and Buster's.
Yeah, well, in related news, I came in last. Hard last. So good times. I think that me and my sisters and KP, you and your sister should go out and have a shitty time somewhere being really competitive. Like I'm all over this. Let's make this
done. I would honestly love that. It's like you and I know each other, and I like bring my twin sister who like doesn't care at all about anything competitive, and I'm like, let's go. And then your sisters and my sisters will probably my sister are just looking at each other like, what the hell are we doing here? Like, what's happening?
I see you having some elaborate ruse where you somehow convince me that your twin sister is you, and it's not until like you on the other side take something really hard, and like you're over competitive, like, oh, wait a minute, dude, that's Kristen over there. Like I knew it.
This twin sister.
That's pretty close.
I know.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
But you're wearing different color dresses, so I feel like
I know I'm not married. Do you know what's so crazy? No, listen. So
do you know how fucked up it would be if she went to her twin sister's wedding in a wedding dress? Do you like the level of aggression that would be?
Okay. We have a plan. It's fine.
We have a plan.
Does this look pretty good, or do you like it? Did I not run this by you?
So my sister, there was so for March Madness, she is the best mom ever. She has 4 kids, and her 9-year-old is like obsessed with March Madness. So she, on the wall of their living room, did a full like bracket with all of the 64 teams. She had paint tape and just did, the first round, second round. She printed out all of the teams, put tape on there so her son could move each team to the bracket. Like it's just this giant bracket.
Sweet.
Right. And so she posts the video on Instagram, and because I gave her the idea. So I repost it and I just said, it's like Christmas morning, and it's from her account. But the amount of messages that I got that were like, KP, you have kids? You have kids? You did this? And I'm like, no, this is my sister's kids. Like these are her kids. I know we look alike, but no. And they're like, you have children? And I'm like, no. Anyways, but
I have a 9-year-old, and I wish we had video of me like trying to do that. And then my wife coming into the living room and being like, you're going to take all this shit down right now. Immediately right now.
I'll send you the picture. I know. I'll send it to you. It's pretty great.
Also, I forgot to tell you guys, I'm buying a pop and shot machine from Dave and Buster's. If you guys want to come by, I'm pretty good. The numbers are pretty good. You guys can't use that machine. I'll be using that one. But like, if you do bring another one, you're welcome to challenge me at any point. I'm almost unbeatable.
I'm in. I'll take the challenge. I don't care.
KP, we missed you. It is great to have you back.
This was fun.
Yeah, it's been way too long. I know how much I appreciate you. We appreciate you. And I've got a pretty damn good sense of how much the audience appreciates you. If they are, as I expect right now, wondering where they can get way more KP in their life, where should they go?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Krysten Peek. I'm on NBA TV. I call high school games. I write for Hoops HQ, Seth Davis's website. And I do a weekly podcast with Locked On draft stuff. So it's draft season. It's here. It's going to be a great draft. Check it out.
How's your podcasting experience going? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah. I mean, well, it's easy for me. I don't have to produce or anything. I just get asked the questions. So, just like this. But I don't talk about my dating life and a freaking dude coming over and shoving my dog off my couch. No, this is a special KP podcast for you guys.
Did you gentlemen think she was going to leave it at KP? How's podcasting for you? Oh, it's easy. And then that's it. Just leave it right there. And I wasn't sure what was going to say next. Like, yeah, easy for me too. Meanwhile, I've sweat through this shirt. I mean, like, I don't want to raise my arms. We'll all notice how uneasy it was for me. So yeah, it is what it is.
By the way, can we talk about like right before we went on? And I was just like, Is this lighting okay? I've been sitting by my pool all day. Am I sunburned? And it's like freaking March, and that's just how much I love living in Vegas. So
Yes, we can. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's when I said I'd like you to work in some kind of a compliment on my physical appearance that never happened today. So, you know,
you
it
look
looks
great.
Like,
The sweat under the armpits looks great.
you know, I really appreciate you saying that. Not a lot of people notice. And so that it's that attention to detail that probably sets you apart. It's what makes podcasting so easy for you. So we appreciate it. You guys know where to find us. We are on YouTube. We've got some very, I think, exciting, important announcements coming, but I'm going to wait on that. We'll call this a tease, but we are an episode away from a giant drop. With that in mind, go Warriors, and hopefully we'll see you real soon.